McNuggets, you fucking piece of shit! I'm gonna kick your ass!
MMA fighters are some of the most durable athletes in the world, but sometimes the strain of competition can push even the best to the breaking point. And in today's video, we'll take a look at some of the most high-profile examples. Welcome to the INC, and these are 5 MMA fighters who quit on the stool. Chris Leben was always known for his ability to take a punch.
Now they're swinging to the fence, and it is all over! From the brink of defeat has won!
For over a decade, the Crippler was one of MMA's most popular stars, with a hard-hitting, aggressive style, earning wins over Vanderlei Silva and Alessio Sakara, making his white flag against Uriah Hall at UFC 168 all the more shocking. After losing his last 3 fights, Leben hoped to use the match to kickstart a fading career, while Hall looked to return to the form that once saw him touted as the next Anderson Silva. Hall controlled the fight from the start, rocking Leben with the first strike of the match, and using his speed and reach advantage to leave the veteran fighter frustrated. With 10 seconds left in the first, Hall dropped Leben with a straight right before swarming with punches, only for the klaxon to stop the Jamaican from finishing the fight. Fortunately for Hall, Leben would do the job for him.
He was saying he's done, he was saying stop it, but he also went back to his corner and asked him if he got knocked out.
The fight gave Hall the first win of his UFC career, while Leben announced his retirement 4 weeks later. The Crippler ending his tenure with 22 wins and 11 losses. Raquel "Rocky" Pennington is one of the toughest fighters in women's MMA. After a slow start, Pennington was enjoying a career turnaround, a 4-fight streak earning her a title shot against bantamweight champion Amanda Nunes at UFC 224. The fight was Pennington's first since breaking her leg in a quad bike crash, something Nunes looked to exploit from the first stages of the fight.
I'm curious about the counter-striking of Pennington, because when Nunes throws, a lot of times she throws big.
With her leg re-injured, Pennington was second best throughout, getting taken down at will and offering little threat to Nunes in the striking exchanges. A heavy knee by Nunes broke Pennington's nose at the end of the 4th, and added with her leg issues led the Colorado native to cry enough.
I'm done. No. She's done. Just told her coach she's done.
In a controversial decision, Coach Jason Cutts convinced Pennington to continue, suffering further damage as Nunes finished with strikes in the middle of the 5th. Despite defending her team on social media, Pennington's loss sparked questions on the role of coaches to protect their fighter, as well as whether the fall on your shield mentality was still viable in modern combat sport. Pennington hasn't fought since the match and currently holds a record of 9 wins and 7 losses. BJ Penn had the chance to make history at UFC 94. He did, for the wrong reasons. By 2009, Penn's status as the world's top lightweight was all but confirmed. Wins over Jens Pulver, Joe Stevenson, and Sean Shirk securing his place on the 155 pedestal. In one of the biggest fights in UFC history, Penn took on welterweight champion George St-Pierre, aiming to become the first man in company history to hold titles in 2 divisions simultaneously. Penn attracted controversy prior to the fight, stating his intention was to kill GSP in the ring, and that he would go to the death in a bid to claim the Canadian's crown. After an even first round, GSP took control in the second, taking the match to the ground and nailing a labored Penn with heavy ground strikes. After 2 more rounds of punishment, Penn returned to his corner for the start of the 5th, where trainer Jason Perillo posed an unprecedented question.
BJ, you want this? BJ, you want this fight? I want the guy to look at it.
It's all over! Wow. Herb Dean has stopped the fight! George St-Pierre has defeated BJ Penn!
Penn returned to lightweight shortly after the fight, where he defended his title twice more, while GSP would do pretty well for himself. Former Strikeforce champion Nate Marquardt was pushed to his limit back in 2015. After returning to the UFC in 2013, Marquardt's form had soured, with 1 win in his past 4 fights, and things weren't expected to get easier when he took on middleweight newcomer Kelvin Gastelum at UFC 188. Marquardt's preparation for the fight had been hampered by stomach cramps and high blood pressure, and taking place in Mexico's high altitude, the Great was set for an evening of struggle. Any hope Marquardt had an experience advantage was quickly quashed. as Gastelum took control with heavy strikes throughout and leading UFC commentator Joe Rogan to call for the match to be stopped.
Dan can stop this fight at any time, and I hope he does. I really do. Just stop it.
A broken Marquardt survived until the end of the second, where coach Trevor Whitman, concerned for his fighter's safety, took matters into his own hands.
Stop it. What? I'm gonna stop it, Nate.
Yeah.
He's done. He's done. Please stop it.
You want to stop it or stop?
Yeah, you're done, bro. It's done.
Marquardt went 2-4 after the fight before announcing his retirement in 2017. Even MMA legend Royce Gracie wasn't afraid to throw in the towel. After a 12-fight streak in the UFC, Gracie competed in the 2000 Pride Grand Prix, and after an opening round win over Nobuhiko Takada, took on Kazushi Sakuraba in the quarterfinal. The fight was contested under Pride's modified rules, outlawing referee stoppages and taking place over unlimited 15-minute rounds. The rules played a part in one of the most famous fights in MMA history, as Gracie and Sakuraba battled to exhaustion in 90 minutes of takedowns and near submissions. At the start of the 6th round, Sakuraba threw a leg kick that fractured Gracie's shin, leaving the Brazilian struggling to stand as the round drew to a close. Gracie expressed interest in returning for the 7th, but was advised by his corner to give up, handing the UFC Hall of Famer the first loss of his pro career.
He's throwing in the towel. Towel in. Kazushi Sakuraba. Gracie quit.
An exhausted Sakuraba would quit his own semi-final clash, but not before cementing his role in one of MMA's greatest moments. And now, time for a few honorable mentions. Jamie Jagger talked a big fight in the 11th season of The Ultimate Fighter, making his quit against Josh Bryant all the more ironic. A torn Achilles forced Cyril Diabate to call off his match with Jimmy Manuwa in 2013. This Brazilian fighter didn't wait for the Stool to quit his match. This is the INC, and thank you for watching.